So, today I wanna do some more Automaton gameplay. I heard there have been quite a few changes since I last played them, but I don't really know what exactly these changes entail. So let's just jump into the run and we'll see from there. Let's go, Ascension level 4. So bosses are now deadlier. On top of elites and normal enemies being deadlier and elites appearing more often. Let's take a look at the starter deck first, just to make sure nothing here has changed too much. Nope, that still looks very familiar. We have a 3 elite path on the right side. If we want to go for the Emerald Elite, it's only gonna be a 1 elite path. This path crossing over from the left to the right even has a rest in between the elites, so I would prefer that one. Although here we could get a rest beforehand, which could also be quite nice because that allows us to get and break the ruby key before we fight the first elite. There's also a lot of question marks here and still a few early fights, so I could pick up some more cards, so that would help. We could go for a curse for a random rare relic. I wouldn't be entirely against that, but I also like transforming a card. Especially with the Automaton, I really like getting these strikes and defense out there, so we can have a higher density of compile and encode and function cards in the deck. So let's do a transform on a strike here. Philosophize. That's interesting. Gain a strength, encode, compile, all enemies gain 2 strength. So we have some sort of strength scaling already. That probably means I don't need to get the ruby key as quickly, as we're gonna get our strength from Philosophize instead. And I'm gonna upgrade the Philosophize here to remove the strength, reduce the strength we give to the enemies here. New function art with the floating bronze orbs. Let's start compiling here. Looks good. Enemy gains a strength, we can still full block, we can also gain some more strength ourselves. The only problem here is that we can't full block with 2 defense anymore. The function is still in the deck. I think I'll take the 1 so I have a high chance of actually winning this turn. Invalidate for vulnerability, wild beam for some extra damage, or bug barrage to start building into wounds and just status effects. Philosophize does work well with multi-hits, and bug barrage can be a good multi-hit. But I think I'm gonna go with an invalidate. That seems reasonable. The vulnerability is nice. The downside is relevant, but I think we can deal with that. If I encode this, the enemy will go up to 7 damage. So I think I'm gonna use Philosophize and Invalidate here. But no, actually we just gonna kill the frontliner. And then that's much less of a problem. And now we have vulnerability and on them and strength on ourselves, so the kill is pretty easy to get here. Fine tuning. Well, that works in quite well on Philosophize for sure. Oil spill and get latest. I'm gonna take a fine tuning. Maybe we can go with a strength multi-hit kind of strategy here. I don't want to be vulnerable this turn. Does that mean I don't play either the Replicate or the Philosophize? Should probably play the Replicate. With no block, this is a bit dicey to go for the vulnerability on myself here. Same this turn. I can't even full block the normal damage. Now this is a good turn to compile and win the fight. Gambler's Brew, happy to see it. Backtrace. What's the damage on this lowered? I'm not sure. Branch is very nice. I really like this card. It's a good way to encode some block as well. It's especially a pretty high block number for a 1-cost card. I think I'll go with that. Although Get Latest is also quite nice. But won't always work so well for us. Regret, huh? I am probably gonna regret taking that here, so I think I'll avoid that and just gain 100. I think we have more cards we wanna smith. Fine-tuning, gaining retain is relevant, branch is pretty relevant. But I think most relevant here is replicate, even though it's only 2 damage on upgrade. It's one we are gonna use multiple times and will find their way in multiple functions. We can gain 10 max HP right now, or we can gain 10 max HP later. Obviously the pair is the better pick, but we need to pick the Sapphire key eventually, and here we basically lose nothing. So I'm gonna take the Sapphire key. As long as we get through the next fights and actually manage to break it, things should be fine. I want the damage here, so I have the block encoded. I'm also gonna just use the fine-tuning now, just because I don't want to draw back into it later. I should have obviously put the vulnerability up first, but it doesn't matter that much. Huh. These enemies are fairly passive. Here comes the first attack. I think we just kill the backliner here. I think we just kill everyone here. Turbo Overheat Separator. Ooh, new art for the separator. That looks very cool. Deal 6 damage. When encoded. If this is not in the first or last slot, increase its damage by 6. Huh. So it's no longer double casting the function, which was immensely powerful, but dealing 6 or 12 damage now. Upgrade does 8 damage each. That isn't bad, and it might be somewhat decent right now. But I don't think this really goes well with where we are headed. And I feel like our deck is strong enough to deal with current threats. But we'll find out in this elite fight. I'm gonna throw them all, except for the fine-tuning. I wanna get my scaling online and was hoping to find the Philosophize early. But that didn't happen. Oh, branch. That's gonna be somewhat useful. I want the damage now, so the function has the block in it. Let's get rid of these artifacts and then increase the number. So we have now 2 vulnerability and 2 strength on this function. But when compiled, the enemies will gain 2 strength. So I really want to make sure that we will be able to remove one of these sentinels, sentries quite early. I'm gonna go full block here though. Yep, I think this is the time. But taking 10 here again. But now the vulnerability has passed. And we have decent damage output. The invalid idea. What a nice name for a function. Toxic Egg. Whenever you add a skill into your deck, upgrade it. Very happy to see that. And nothing here really works great with this deck, but the piercing shot could be decent with the strength and AoE vulnerable. I'm gonna take it, yeah, actually. Do I want to fight this elite? Yeah, I think so. Might be tough. We might have to use our potion. But I think we can do it. I definitely don't want to philosophize in validate. I'm just gonna use branch for the block here actually. I will philosophize, but I will not invalidate yet. Actually. That's probably worth. Invoke. Might be good. Bronze orb, probably less important. I do like the invoke, giving us some block as well as some energy once we compile the card. And we do need some block. Not a bad start. Invalidate is always gonna be painful, but it's also gonna speed up the kill. It's 8 damage here though. It's even more because we increase the enemy's total damage output. Oh, this feels dangerous. Oh, we're only taking 1 damage right now. Yeah, there's another 24 hit. And I can philosophize piercing shot. That would just cause me to take crazy amounts of damage. We might just die here, honestly. Oh yeah, I just made myself vulnerable, huh? Is there any way I can get a kill with... No. Have to go to and hope I draw the function. I did not. Whoops. Ouch. But we managed to get an unlock. So we have some more toys to play with in the next run. Hardcode. Fleeting. The next function you create goes into your deck permanently instead of your hand. This card purchases and is removed from your deck on use. Wow, that's very cool. You can compile a permanent function. I like that a lot. Library. At the start of your turn, add a random card with encode to your hand. It costs 0. Okay. And dev tools. Retain. Choose between debug, batch, decompile, and byte shift. Debug. Remove all negative compile effects from... Oops. From the cards in the sequence. Batch, create the function immediately out of the cards in the sequence. There's decompile, exhaust all cards in the sequence, gain an energy and draw a card for each card exhausted. And finally, there's byte shift, return all cards in the sequence into your hand, they gain retain. Interesting. Well, I was a bit careless there. And these elites were indeed very deadly. Let's try this again. Ascension 4. Bosses are now deadlier, on top of elites and normal enemies being deadlier and elites spawning more often. Two rest sites, 2 elites, another rest site and a merchant. That's not bad. Yeah, I like it. Enemies in your next 3 combats flee in terror. We can't hit an elite with that. Obtain a curse for 250 gold. If we had an early merchant, that might be tempting. We lose 1 rest site for it if we take that path. Honestly, I think I'm just gonna upgrade the replicate here. It's not the strongest start ever, but it's solid. That means I'll recall here. Hi the Duke, welcome. Also hi Katira. Yeah, this is the beta branch. This character isn't on the live branch yet. Just gonna defend, I don't think I need to take the damage here. Because we have the kill now. Fruit juice, gain 5 max HP, very nice. Iterate, a very interesting card to build around, so is Repulsor. We have done some Repulsor shenanigans recently with status cards. Let's go with Iterate. It's just a great damage card for this character. That's a lot of incoming damage. I could take 7 and remove the small slime. Or I could full block and just take 3. but still haven't done anything in terms of functions or dealing damage. I'm gonna take the 7 here. Nice. That paid off. Muddle the 2 highest cost cards in your hand. Cards muddle cannot cost 3. This Deprecate and Invalidate are kind of scary to use. I guess Deprecate is much easier to use because you can oftentimes just compile it close to the end. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Deprecate. Wandering Spectre. Should we try to go for a curse run? Like, maybe. Oh, Cursed Key. We, however, got 4 curses, 2 shames, a writhe, and a bewildered. This is crippling. Well, we got a boss relic for 4 curses. That might be worth it. Now I kinda wanna go to as many question marks as possible, trying to find a curse event. And I will actually avoid elites, because elites are so deadly with 4 curses in a 15 card deck. That's like just... that would just kill us. Yeah, gaining frail here is pretty unfortunate. I hope we can actually compile a function to defend ourselves here, but doesn't quite work. We're also not doing a ton of damage here. And by that I mean we have done a total of 6 damage to this merchant. We need to just pad out our deck right now, otherwise we're gonna die to these curses. I'm gonna take a piercing shot. Card removal is definitely something I wanna go for. Nothing that really helps with curses. There are the new boss cards. Dono Blast. Boss Ancients. Deal 9 damage twice. Next turn, add a Deca Shield into your hand. And Deca Shield, gain 14 block. Next turn, add a Dono Beam with Ethereal into your hand. Deca Shield is always Ethereal. So as long as you just keep switching between those two, you gain one of those every turn. And that's 18 damage and 14 block for 2 energy. With 1 upgrade, the game crashes. Whoops. Apparently, we are not supposed to look at their upgrade. One moment. I'm gonna bring the game back online. Well, if their upgrade crashes, then I probably shouldn't take that card. Because that would probably mean that if we try to upgrade it at a rest site or anywhere else, it would most likely crash as well. And that wouldn't be great. Let's see if this works. You're probably seeing a black screen right now, and that's... Ah, there we go. Let's try this again. Huh? These cards have changed considerably. There's now a hard code. I am very interested in including that to my deck, but right now it would be pretty hard to use. Main problem being there that we don't really have the durability to actually, like, we're not strong enough to actually go for a hard code, and we don't have good enough compile, well, encode cards yet. So I'm thinking that's probably not what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go with the bronze orb instead. We also don't get the shop this time. Yeah. Curse number 5? Sure. Might as well go with it right now. Meat on the bone is very nice. So, cursed key, gain energy at the start of your turn whenever you open a non-boss chest. Obtain a curse, meat on the bone. If your HP is at or below 50%, at the end of combat, heal 12 HP. Pick up another curse? Probably not. Let's go with the fight here for the relic. Let's focus on the backliner because they are trying to get extra strength, which we really don't want. Ugh. That might be fine though. No, I should probably play it still. I do have the energy for it. Ah, we are short because of the week. I needed to play the strike earlier. Now we're gonna take a bunch of damage to these guys. At least they're weakened, so could be worse. Now everyone's buffing, which I don't mind. Gives me time to actually put out some damage this turn. How does a curse deck work? We get a Duvu doll. Or the other way to say it, it currently doesn't. These curses are messing us up big time. I'm looking for a certain event that gets better the more curses you have, which is basically the only way I'm really gonna make it out of this. I wouldn't mind a front load. Wouldn't mind a fine-tuning either. It's very good with iterate. And with the weakness. I'm gonna go for the fine-tuning. Merchant. Well, at least that gives us a chance to potentially remove a curse from our deck. At least we're not frail for once, so I can actually decently defend here. Good thing we have this meat on the bone. Scry 5, exhaust all cards discarded. Game 5 block for each status card exhausted. This would be amazing if it also triggered for curses, but I'm still gonna take it just to get rid of my curses. Repulsor helps us a lot. Virus, retain. Deal 3 damage, transform all cards into hand into minor beam. Exhaust. That's another way to get rid of curses. Wraith is probably the worst one. Being innate is a huge downside. Because it guarantees that it will matter by being in our opening hand. Nice, nice. That was a good turn 1. Well, no more curses left in the deck, so I think this is just bewilder and set up the repulsor. At least we have the void. Repulsor is whenever you draw the first status or curse card each turn, exhaust it and draw a card. So that's gonna be very useful. Oh, we are frail. That sucks big time here. Take another 7. Good thing we have the meat on the bone. Hope we can get the kill here, but we might not be able to. That's exactly 18 damage, and the enemy has 19. Oh, we can't even scry right now. There we go, taking another 12. Separator, piercing shot, turbo. Well, might as well start building into the status stuff now. Although turbo is probably not what we need. Repulsor being innate is very important, even though resting would also have been nice right here. Let's just go for it. Whenever you add an attack into your deck, upgrade it. Very nice. Do we want to rest now? I can probably heal up with the meat on the bone in the next fight, and I do need some upgrades eventually. I'm gonna go with the bronze orb. That better turn 1 matters. Not against the merchant in particular, but having weakness on the enemy from turn 1 is very nice. I'm also gonna turbo and then refractor. We need some defense. Actually, I don't need fine-tuning next turn. I'm gonna keep both defense, actually. This is not going well at all. And I don't mean this specific fight, I mean the run in general. Another repulsor is probably not necessary. Class default, I'm gonna go with the get latest. It's usually pretty good having a 0 cost. Don't want a buggy mess. Yeah, sure. It's usually pretty good having 0 cost in co-cards. I appreciate the repulsor early, but other than that, this is a pretty awful start. Wait, the repulsor is innate, so it would always come in our opening hand. Gain 1 energy can become gain 2 energy. I like that. Early access. Deal 15 damage. Insert random status and code. Sure. Copying mess. Nice. That was a pretty good fight after all. Machine Oil increase all numbers on cards in the sequence by 1. Fortify and Branch. Deal 8 damage and code. Compile gains 3 decks. So the compile effect is very good. The card itself, or the function it creates, will be a bit worse though. I'm gonna go with Branch instead. Actually, I should have gone with It's a Feature, right? That card counts curses, I think. Nah, it probably would have been a good idea. Refactor is gonna be less important this time around. Two shifts are fine. The third one for playing this card, however, not so much. Actually don't want it to be 0 cost, so I'm not gonna play the Deprecate. Enemy has a Shuriken. And the enemy has Bag of Knives. Whenever you play a 0 cost card, if Silent has less than 7 cards in hand, she gains a shift. Iterate, I think that's what we want here. Getting us a function. Not gonna play these right now, I don't want to give her additional shifts this turn. Void is not exactly what I wanted there. I think I want this function to be more defensive. Copying core for some good damage. How do we defend this turn? I think it has to be Deprecate. Currently she's doing 5, then burst. That will be 5 times 2. This is 15. Then she will do 6 times 2. This will be 27 damage in total. So currently we die. Well, we can defend and stay alive. Deprecate makes it 3, 6, 9, and then 4 times 3, 21 damage, but she gains an additional strength. So no Deprecate here. Yeah, the additional strength is the main problem. I will need the fruit juice here anyways. Well, that might help. We can now also try to find that. These 0 cost cards are quite bad in this fight. Maybe I should actually try to muddle them, so we can reasonably play them. Although that's not gonna happen anymore because I am now deceased. Yeah, 4 curses. I don't like that event. It's too high variance. It should maybe be a fixed amount of curses and maybe remove cursed key from the pool or something like that. And just give one of Blue Candle or Duvudol or the Darkstone Periapt. Also, Darkstone Periapt probably should be given before the curses, if that's possible.